Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and you know what? We've had a very leaky start to begin 2025. At first, it was just kind of the Nintendo Switch, and of course, we have another one of those rumors to talk about today, because why not? But now Xbox is joining in on all the fun. They just announced their developer direct, and apparently, it might even be bigger than what they're currently letting on, including what could be a massive shadow drop. So make sure to stay tuned for all that, and we'll talk all about their direct and some of their alleged multi-platform plans. We heard a little bit about that today as well, but let's just go and get right into things, starting off with Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii. RGG is honestly one of the only studios that just kind of wows me every single year. I think it's pretty incredible just how consistently they release great game after great game. And Yakuza Pirate is seemingly going to deliver on another one of those top-tier experiences. They just dropped a 13-minute long deep dive on YouTube. I'll drop a link below, but it goes over its gameplay, and there's actually a few different things that stands out with it. The first of which is that this is more of a beat-em-up style of game. The last two mainline releases were instead more turn-based, so if you do prefer how they used to play, then you'll likely be very happy with what they're doing here in Yakuza Pirate. There's a lot of enemies on screen, and just like Majima himself, it looks pretty frantic and crazy. The other thing that seems fairly obvious with this gameplay, though, is that RGG seems to have drawn a lot of inspiration from Assassin's Creed Black Flag and how they incorporated its naval battles. I mean, Ubisoft stumbled onto something that fans really liked in Black Flag, but they were just never able to capitalize on it afterwards. Instead of making a Black Flag sequel that might have probably been the best course of action, Ubisoft instead attempted to turn it into a multiplayer experience being Skull and Bones. Yeah, that didn't exactly pan out for them with countless delays and questionable quality at best. So what I'll kind of say here is that Yakuza Pirate is kind of the game that Black Flag fans have been asking for. So it will be available next month on February 21st, and it looks really, really good in my opinion. Now, February, though, is actually building up to be a great start for 2025. There's several big releases, including Yakuza Pirate and Monster Hunter Wilds. That's going to be one of the biggest releases for the year just in its entirety. But if you're more of a Soulsborne fan, well, From Software just announced a network test for Elden Ring Nightreign. This will give players the opportunity to experience a portion of the game before its official release, in return to stress test their servers to better prepare for a smooth launch. So if you're interested in a network test for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series, unfortunately, there's no PC version this time, but signups are live right now over on Bandai Namco's website. I'll drop a link below, and you can see the full schedule here thanks to Wario64. Go ahead and pause the screen if you need, and make sure to sign up between now and January 20th for a chance to be accepted. All right, so let's go and get into the Xbox news because there's actually a lot to go over here. There's a lot of rumors swirling around right now, and anytime we talk about rumors, of course, take them as you will. Nothing is confirmed until something official gets announced. But as usual, we're talking about leaks that comes from sources that have fairly good reputations. So the first exciting tidbit I have for you all is coming from Jez Corden. Over on Twitter, he mysteriously tweeted out this Xbox Developer Direct might be a lot bigger than Microsoft is letting on. Now, he did clarify in a later response that whatever he's teasing is good news for Xbox fans. And I mean, honestly, this could really mean a number of different things. This is a fairly vague tweet, so it's difficult to gauge without more information. But that's where Nate the Hate comes in. He held his podcast earlier today and broke a lot of news for Xbox. Now, again, these are just rumors, but Nate has proven himself in the past. It was about this time last year when he mentioned Hi-Fi Rush for the PlayStation 5, and, well, as we all know now, he was absolutely correct about that. So again, take this as you will, but according to what he's been hearing, Square Enix is preparing Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and also Rebirth for Xbox consoles. So there it is. It seems like it is finally time for an official announcement. He does believe that there's a chance that Final Fantasy XVI will be announced and shadow dropped as a part of this Xbox Developer Direct. Then 7 Remake will also release later this year, with Rebirth apparently planned for 2026. So, I mean, that in itself would actually be massive news for this Xbox Developer Direct. All 3 of these games are amazing, to say the least. I know Xbox fans have been a little bit bitter when it comes to these games, and I can understand that. These games probably should have never been exclusive in the first place, but still, don't sleep on these games if you haven't already played them. They are outstanding, to say the least. And, even better here is that this would seemingly be the end of Square Enix's exclusive relationship with Sony. By all indication, going forward, they will be completely multi-platform. And yes, that also includes Nintendo as well. If these games run on the Switch successor, they will be there. So everybody can kind of be happy about this news, and this could actually be the secret game, or I guess games, that Xbox is teasing for the Xbox Developer Direct. Now, there's still a chance that this could be something else, like maybe the Oblivion remake, or even Everwild. But Nate did mention that he thinks Oblivion will be announced later this year, and that it'll release in June. Now, if he's correct about a June release, that's a fairly short window, so I would like an announcement sooner rather than later. But one thing that he made pretty crystal clear here is that 2025 is going to be a huge, huge year for the Xbox brand. They have a lot of really exciting games planned, including Avowed. They have South of Midnight, Doom the Dark Ages, your yearly Call of Duty release, Oblivion, there's Fable, and he also mentioned the possibility of Gears E-Day and maybe even a Gears collection. Now, you don't know this about me. Gears is a top 3 franchise for me of all time. I absolutely adore this series. I have so many fond memories with that original Gears trilogy. So I will be out of this world ecstatic if all of this actually happens. But at the same time, nothing's confirmed, and some of what he talked about did kind of seem like he was just simply speculating. He seemed much more positive about the Final Fantasy stuff and, that there is, in fact, an Oblivion remake. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. That does kind of take me over to the multi-platform stuff, though, because he talked about 2 more games that he's heard about that could come over to rival consoles this year. And that's Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I think makes sense. It's a very niche title. And then the bigger of the 2 being Halo the Master Chief Collection. Now, that would be a pretty significant announcement just because Halo is synonymous with the Xbox brand. So I think if this actually happens, and there is an if involved here, this is just currently a rumor, but there will be an emotional response from fans really across all platforms. This would be a monumental moment in gaming history. This would include a large portion of the Halo franchise. It's Halo 1 through 4 plus ODST and Halo Reach. So that's 6 total games, not including Halo 5 and Infinite. But I mean, this is one of the best collections ever made. And I'll say this much. If Microsoft actually ports this collection, it will sell extremely well. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that a lot of people would jump aboard simply to see why Xbox fans have loved this franchise just so much for more than 20 years. And in some ways, hey, this could actually breathe new life into a franchise that might need it. It could actually be a good way for them to get more people interested in future releases. But yeah, there's no doubt about it, this would be a massive announcement if what he's heard actually turns out to be true. Now, he also mentioned that he wouldn't be surprised if they did the same thing with the Gears collection, but I will say this. He seemingly mentioned that part more as speculation rather than it being something that he heard firsthand. So we'll kind of see what happens with all that. But let me know what you all think about all of this. Do you think this is a good, or do you think it's a bad decision by Microsoft if they actually go through with this plan? Now, moving on, let's go and talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 yet again, because a new leak just confirmed an exciting new feature. Now, there's also possible games that leaked with this as well, and we'll get into that here in just a second, but Wario64 posted this up over on Twitter. Switch to accessory SKUs starting to appear in GameStop systems, seemingly confirming microSD Express support. And you can see that the image specifically mentions Switch 2. So, I mean, there's not really any denying what this is for. But sure, there's more accessories here and everything, but what's really interesting about this is that it does confirm micro SD Express support. This is actually a different, more capable format of the micro SD card that we've previously become accustomed to. The most notable thing about it is that it has faster read-write speeds. So in other words, this should decrease load times in games. That's really been one of the biggest changes from the PS4 and Xbox One to these newer generation of consoles, and it appears like Nintendo is going to follow suit with their upgrade. They're going to invest into faster storage, which means that they also need to support these faster SD Express cards. So this is actually really good news. Now, it's not just GameStop leaking things with their early listings, though, because it's also being spotted on other websites, including a French retailer who listed 18 Switch 2 games. Now, these listings don't include exact title names, but we do know their publishers, which you can see here. They include 3 Bethesda games, which I assume Xbox is going to be a big Switch 2 supporter. We've heard that from other places as well. There's going to be 4 EA games, 2 Bandai Namco games, 5 Square Enix games, 2 from Take-Two Interactive, and then 2 from Warner Brothers games as well. Now, based on the very little information that we're getting here, we can take a guess at a few of these titles. From Bethesda, the first game that kind of comes to mind is Doom: The Dark Ages. id Software, they're wizards, and they actually got Doom working on the original Switch. So yeah, I think this seems very plausible. Then for Square Enix, maybe Final Fantasy VII Remake. We heard a long time ago that they have it working on the Switch 2, so that seems possible. There's also been rumors about a Final Fantasy IX remake. Hopefully that turns out to be true. Then from Bandai Namco, Elden Ring seems like a pretty good idea. If you don't know, it surprisingly runs very well on the Steam Deck, so I don't really see a reason why it wouldn't on the Switch 2. Then for Take-Two, a lot of people were speculating that it could be Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, if we're going to dream, hey, we might as well go ahead and dream big, right? Some people even believe it could be the first 60 FPS console release, and hey, I hope that turns out to be the case. And, I'll just go and kind of leave it there on a high note. The main reason I really wanted to talk about this today, though, is just because all this information really just kind of leans into the idea that the Switch 2 will, in fact, release sometime relatively soon. And pre-orders aren't all that far out by this point. Let's just go take a look at the poll of the day, though, and piggybacking off of yesterday's topic, I asked you all, if you were to make a prediction, what do you think the secret Xbox game is that they plan to reveal at their developer direct? And as you can see, the majority of you voted for the Oblivion remake with more than half of the votes. Now, that's what I would have previously guessed as well, and truthfully, I hope that's at least one of the secret announcements. But again, Nate kind of swayed me over to the idea that the secret studio that they visit could actually maybe be Square Enix, where they could announce multiple Final Fantasy games. So what I'll say here is that I hope we get all of those announcements. Yeah, maybe I'm getting a little greedy here, but if anything else, it actually does sound like it's going to be a fun overall showcase. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.